finally, Converter 4.0, there's a new feature to visualize the data for QC purposes, and it's a heat map. It's not exactly like the heat map in Super Shiny, but of course similar. So what you can do in the heat map is you can visualize either the peak area or the RT delta or the MZ delta. I really did it for these two because the peak area we can already look at. So what you do is you select some compounds. The one that we want is here. Some compounds. You can add some stuff for visualization. Let's have the base compound and calculate the heat map. Now this heat map here allows you to look at either peak area, as I said, in this case, or at the other two, which I'll do in a moment. So here, what you can see is essentially is the grey areas are NAs. That's maybe the most. That's why I really did it. And then you can order by groups. And what do we get here? So here is the more important info. So we've got actually two groups here that have measurements, and all the others that don't have. And for that reason, this compound wasn't chucked out. Whereas if we had lots of compounds with lots of NAs, then we wouldn't have this blocky. We wouldn't have any solid green blocks or other colored blocks. You can also log to make it look nicer. Yeah, that's so it is very similar to Super Shiny heat map without the clustering. There's no clustering option. Only the sort of the sorting by so these factors for the samples, and here this is ordered by base compound. This will always be ordered by whatever you select here. Right. So now, so this is a useful picture, but this unlocks some of the data that we haven't really been able to look at before, the RT deltas, for example. This, of course, can't go on log scale. This is not log scale, even if it says here log scale. And here we can sort of see, in this case, it's, I'd say, not terribly informative. Yeah, if there was some systematic pattern, then probably we'd be able to see it. I mean, clearly the citric acid is coming a bit later, a bit earlier. Here, AMP is coming a bit earlier than in your lists. Well, that's probably fine. Let's have a look at the MZ delta. So here's a more curious pattern where the AMPs, for example, have -4 ppm. And here the ATP has -2.5, 2.9 ppm. And across the board, yeah, it's always been consistently picked at something that's 2.9 ppm off. Well, never mind. Anyhow, so this was, I introduced this because there was no real way before to look at the delta ppm and the delta MZ. So if we can extract it from the information that we get out of from the spectrometer, which I guess we should most of the time, then we can look at these in the heat map.